Alright, this is Ginger Cook. We are in part 2 of Crashing on the Rocks. This is our painting that we're doing. You see this? And this is what we did in part 1. We laid in the background, part of the first part of this wave. We were right at an hour. So we'll see if we can't finish this up in the next hour. When you're doing bigger paintings, they take longer. And it may take you 4 or 5 hours to do this. Don't sweat it. If I did it in an hour, don't sweat the small stuff. Just have fun doing it at your pace. This is why we recorded it, so you could pause and look at it and then think about it and do it again. So all right, so we're gonna put some we're gonna finish these rocks, and we have out the colors that we want to have out right now are burnt sienna, which I'm going to put on my plate. This is I've just kept going here, but I paused the, I stopped the video at an hour. So here's burnt sienna, like that, and then we had burnt umber on the other plate, and I want a little Australian sienna on this one too. I'm going to put that here where the burnt umber place is. And what I want to do now is take a small brush. I want to just kind of work on my rocks a little bit. So I'm going to take a little burnt sienna and a little bit of raw umber, because we should have that out. That's our unity color. I want to come on top of this rock like this. And let's see, I'll move this plate out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Kind of zoom in. Let's see. It's tough because I'm at the max I can film for you. So if I zoom in, it's harder. Maybe I can turn it up this way and show you. Then I can zoom in on this a little bit. If I do it at an angle like this, I can kind of show you the rock we're painting. Like that. Say we're painting that rock. So I've got a dry brush here, and I'm just going to start by putting a little bit of that burnt sienna, underpainting start stuff, a little bit of that burnt sienna right on top of this rock, like that. And am I zooming in? Can I zoom in really more? Well, yeah, I can't. Then it's hard for you to see the rock, though. Okay, so maybe let's back out a bit. All right, something like that. All right, so we're going to come along. So that is the first rock. Now when you have a little bit of paint on your brush, here's just burnt sienna. We're just going to use that for a minute. This is going to be my lighter edge here, so I might as well just go ahead and make it. This is my lighter edge of this rock. And because it's dark, and I'm barely touching this, you see I'm barely touching it, what happens is some of the dark shows through, and it makes like a rock-like surface, because some of the dark paint is peeking out underneath here. Alright, so there's this part right like that. Just taking a little bit of the burnt sienna here, right on top of that. Okay, if we can see, it's pretty bright when you do pure burnt sienna. If I put a touch of raw umber with it, it tones it down a bit. But alright, so that's the way we're going to paint it. Now I'm going to do like 3 fingers of rock coming down here like that, almost like 3 fingers of rock just by using a lighter color. You see, right over the dark. And then there's another finger over here. We're going to say there's another rock right here. Take a little bit of burnt sienna. And I kind of like to wipe it. I put it on wipe it off a little bit. Sometimes you can have a piece of paper next to you. That works too. Let's try that. Sometimes you can just take an old piece of paper you're not madly in love with, put it like that, and then when you put the paint on, wipe it off a little bit on a piece of paper, and then go. See what happens. See, because most people get way too much paint. They get it globby, and then it won't do this tricky stuff here that we want it to do, like that. We're going to say that's our first rock, and it's a pretty interesting shape. It's only 2 colors, but we've got kind of an interesting shape. See how we did that? We left this as the dark areas, so this was our lighter areas. And at this point, let me just move the paper. Now I want to draw in these rocks. So this little brush can be on standby. And I know that I've got, this is the trough, and I know that I've got, kind of a rock right here. Let's do it in white. And I've dried this, so if I don't like it, I can erase it. But here's a rock like this. and it's coming in here like this because I've got a trough that's going to come in front of this rock like this and down here. This is my trough, and it might even be more of a swell than that. Might be willing to bury that much of the rock. And I've got something coming here like this. There's a rock here. These are all sort of at an angle. Just going to chalk them in. That there's a rock, and here's a rock, and this will be part. It's all part of the same rock, but the water's kind of running through it. I'm going to say it's all coming down like this at an angle. And how far up do I want to go? Might want to go up a little bit higher with this one. Alright, we're going to bring this rock up a little bit. This is what I love about chalk. If you don't like it, you can just, wipe it off as long as you dried what was underneath. So, alright, so we're going to say that those are our rocks. This is my thought about it today. And then, how far over? I need it closer to here, so let's just move this out a bit. Let's just make this bigger. There we go. I want it a little bit closer to this edge. I want a bigger pile of rocks closer to this edge. So I'm going to enlarge it. And that's what you can do. I mean, they're rocks. You didn't have to go find them and put them there. They're just there. So let's take a little brush and burnt umber and ultramarine blue. Remember the rock color we made from part 1? And I still have that plate going because I've just been continuing. You took a break. Here we go. Ultramarine blue. And you didn't have to take a break. You might have just kept right on going with me. But I'm filming these in 1-hour segments. It's got to be easier for John, our technician, to upload. We can't make this too tough for him. And this is ultramarine blue, dazzling purple, and burnt umber. 75% burnt umber and 25% each of the other two colors. And if you'll recall, I misted this pretty well. Alright, so I'm going to come up like this. This is my rocks right over the wave. Isn't that interesting? See how it changed the dynamics of this picture? We haven't put any of the technical stuff in about this wave yet, but it certainly changed the dynamics of the picture, did it not? So, here we go. Like this. There. Glad I've had a chance to do this master class because sometimes you can't show everything in an hour lesson. You just can't. If you really want to get down to the brass knuckles and tacks of things, you just have to kind of understand the paint order and drying times and layers, and that's why I do the 6x8 canvases, because I can show you a lot on a small canvas. Alright, so there's my 3 rocks, and let's give this more of a bump here. Alright. Now, in my regular classes that I teach on gingercooklive.com, where you sign up for 3 months, I go into a lot about how to make rocks and how to do the shapes. These individual things I've covered. So if you want to know more about that, you can sign up for some of those classes and just see. But basically, you see we've varied the shapes. I'm going to dry it. Alright, so I've dried it. Now, I'm going to wipe the brush off. And I'm going to do the same thing with the burnt sienna that I did to the other one. Here's my little piece of paper. I just wipe off the excess paint. Come here on the top of this, and I can even grab paint off that paper now if I need it. And say that there's the top of this rock. There's a rock. I'm going to say here's a front one. In here like that. I'm going to define this rock a little bit. Tap it off in the paper and say there's the front of this rock. This one's coming down like that. So actually I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rocks, because this is another rock right here. This is another rock right there. And then believe it or not, there's a rock back in here somewhere, which I've got. So you're going, gosh, I can barely see that. Well, you can't, because there's really nothing to it. We've just barely said what any of this is. So you're right, you can't really see it. Now, let's take some Australian sienna, a little bit of white, a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of white, a little bit of Australian sienna, and let's start changing the highlights on this. So this is still wet. I'm going to put a little bit more Australian sienna and burnt sienna, no white. Just tap off the excess on that paper. I'm going to say that that is the top of this rock. See, isn't that pretty? There we go. And it's such a nice color next to this turquoise. Then I'm going to say that there's another rock right here. Barely touching it. I'm using the flat of the brush, and I'm barely... See how much paint I can put on without touching the canvas. That's the goal. Kind of using it flat, letting it skip. Okay, and then I know I've got a rock. I'll grab a little of this highlight color. Now I've got some little highlight right here, like that, so that's a rock. This rock over here we're going to say is wet, so we're going to put the sky color on that. Now if you put the sky color on a rock, it looks wet. How's that? That's the best explanation I can give you at the moment. Let's do another one right here. Say there's a little rock right here. See, look, all we had to do, see how we created some rocks? Well, years ago I can remember building rock walls and little things out of rocks in my garden. And it's just a lot of work. It's so much easier to paint them in. Alright, so let's just do this one up here as long as I'm doing it. And I'm going to lighten up this edge. I'm going to back you up so you can see what I've got. Now look, see? It's coming. Here's our, if you think about, there's our, do this painting. See, here's our rocks. See what we're painting. And then here's what we've got, see? So again, burnt sienna, Australian sienna and burnt sienna together. And let's just make this rock up here more Australian sienna, I think. Tap off the extra. Let's just lighten this edge. Not trying to paint over everything I've done. I'm just adding an addition. I'm adding that. And the same thing with here. Now if I add a little bit of white to this, and I'm talking about the slightest amount of white, tap off the excess, you can see how much you can really lighten up an area. And I'll just take a little bit of white off that paper, and I'm going to just say I want this to be, this little edge to be the lightest. It's going to catch the light, top edge of this. But see, I'm just taking the tiniest amount of color. Everybody puts too much paint on their brush, or they don't put enough on. And you're saying when they're trying to do a big area, they never put enough on, and when they're trying to do small areas, they glob it on. I don't really get that, but anyway, that seems to be what happens. So we're going to, and then just sort of dry brush this on over here. Dry brush means that there's no, I haven't dipped my brush in water before I started any of this. See? Now, same thing here. Let's just lighten this area up. This is just pure Australian sienna now. And haven't rinsed the brush, so it may have some lighter on it. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to say that this is lighter right here. Yeah, this is too much the same, so let's change the shape of this rock with a little bit of Australian sienna and burnt sienna. And let's say, ooh, see how much paint that is? Let's just come out like this and then come down. So we don't have so much of the same. Like that. Let's just pull a little bit brighter color right here. And yeah, that's pretty good. I'm not going to spend a lot more time on the rocks in this today. As we do these painting classes, who knows what we'll be doing. But I know for sure that if I add a little bit of light paint to this, and then I don't want it that white, so I'll put a little Australian sienna on top of that. Mix it on the canvas. You can do that, you know. Mix your color right on the canvas. These are the highlights. Yeah, and what if you got it too white? What if you didn't want it that white? Well, we know that I'm going to just come in here a little bit, close the gap on this. I've got some white, see, I've got some water running down here, so I don't want to get too carried away. And I'll probably glaze over this light spot later. But that's where it is. And then I want that light spot. I like that light spot. So I want a lighter spot up here on this wave. And I'll go right back with the Australian sienna because that's too light. Just put a little bit of lighter spot next to this wave on this rock. Top of this rock, I want it a little bit lighter. Where it's, and maybe it's catching the light a little bit here. A little bit. See, it's kind of skipping over some of the dark areas of our canvas. If you got it too light, you can put some back. Let's see, do we want to put any right here? Kind of at the end of the paint on my brush, so I can be sort of careful. Now, let's take, for example, let's take the sky. Remember I told you we would do the sky color on some of it. The sky color was blue and white, a little raw umber, ultramarine blue and white, remember? And raw umber. Alright, let's put a little more raw umber with it. Now, there's that sort of gray sky color. Now, here's what happened. I had yellow on my brush. That's not the sky color. So let me rinse my brush off and start again. So we're starting again. Here's a little ultramarine blue, a little bit of white, a little bit of raw umber, more white. Alright, that's more of the sky color that I had. Put a little bit more raw umber in it because I want to gray it, but I didn't want it yellow. How's that? Now I'm going to wipe all the paint off my brush, and I'm going to say that this little rock here has some light on it, but it is I want it to look a little bit wet. And I had some dazzling purple I put out. I'm going to put a teeny bit of dazzling purple in that, like 1%. That's too much. 1%. Boy, that was like 4%. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of that purple on there too. Say that this little rock right here is a little wet. And I'm going to say that about these. I'm going to say that these rocks up here, I'm going to put these down here at the bottom, and I'm going to say that these are sort of wet rocks. And I can create them just by doing the shape with the purple. I can create some rocks here. Coming this way. But there's some rocks. And there's going to be more to these than what I've got right there, but this will be a start. So that's these rocks here. And then I might put a little bit of a purple coming up on these. Because why? Because maybe they're a little bit wet in places. So I might put a little purple even just over the brown a couple places where the water may be coming up. And the same with this one right here. Maybe it's a little bit of purple on this rock. And let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. Zoomy, 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 zoomy. Alright, so let's focus this. Now, right here maybe, just on this side, maybe here, I'll just put a little bit of this purple coming down. If it's too much, I don't like it later, I can take it back. And then at this point, if I dry it, then I'll rinse the brush, take raw umber and water, just mist my paints here again, give everybody a good mist, and take a little bit of raw umber and water like a tea stain, like coffee maybe, and very gently glaze over this a little bit, not too much, I don't want to get it gone completely, but if it's too much I can just tone it down. Do you see how I toned it down? Just with a little water and raw umber, and I dried it. You see that? So it's lighter, and let me zoom back out so you can kind of see it. Now this really isn't going to show up. This rock isn't going to show up, nor is this one, until we put the lighter water. So remember, wherever there's a light there's a dark. So sometimes what I'm doing is kind of hard to see. I'm just going to kind of glaze over some of this with some raw umber and water because I didn't want it that bright. But there you go. So that's the different tones in our rocks. And I might come back later with some orange and highlight this. But right now that's all I'm going to do. Now we're going to start working on this part of the wave because we've got to start coming up with this part. And I'll put the picture down again so you can see it. See how we want to start pulling this up behind this rock. We've got enough of this rock in to do that. That was the key. We had to have enough of that rock in to be able to do that. And if I just kind of put it like this, maybe you can, where are you going to see this? Well, you can't really see it, but maybe a little bit like this, you can see it. All right, maybe like this. Can you kind of see it like that? Yeah, okay. So, how to do that? Well, we'll start off with the mixing white, small brush. This is a number 2 bright brush. We'll start off with the mixing white. And I had some on this plate over here, so I might as well grab it. That was up here. It's my mixing white. And I'm going to start with what we know. So what I know is that I've got white right behind this rock here. Do you see that? I know that right next to this rock it's lighter. And my water is coming up. This is this foam that's coming up here. And it's very gently just putting it up. And I'm trying to do the least amount of paint I can at first, which is why I'm using the transparent white. Then I'll come back with titanium. Alright, let me just put my plate here so you can kind of see it. There you go. Now, so what do I know? Well, for instance, I know whenever you're painting something, ask yourself what you know for sure. It's a great way to solve problems. So I know this, and I know that this is all going to be fuzzy up in here, and that's not going to cover completely, so that's alright. This is the transparent mixing white. And I know it's coming around this rock like this, and it's coming over this wave, and that's this part of the white, like that. And then as it comes down between these two rocks, see in here, right in here, here we go. We have to pretty much do this first before we do the rest of this. So here's our translucent mixing white, and now what I'm doing is doing these sort of triangular holes and using just a tiny part of my brush. I could even have gone into a smaller brush, but I'm just doing the corner, and I'm putting in these sort of veins into the wave like that. And this takes some time. This really, you don't want to rush this. You want to take some time with this, because this is sort of the main part of your wave. Remember I showed you how when you add some pressure you can kind of create certain effects by laying like a little bit of a trough or something, a little bit of row. So if you put a little paint like that, we know that at this point this is going to come down like that. So this part of the wave we're not going to see. And this is almost going to all be buried right here, and this is the edge of it. I'll just put that in here now. That's just sort of the edge of this wave right in here like this. And this is all going to be white. So I could put some mixing white here first. It's going to have titanium over it, but just maybe it helps you to see how we're discovering where all this goes. And then on the top of this wave, we've got sort of a little edge that's coming down here. Most of that's going to have to be titanium, but our first layer of defense is this mixing white. And as it gets down back over here, I almost could put this in chalk for you. As it gets down over here, it kind of comes down like this. Just that. Now, go ahead and chalk it in. Don't get overwhelmed by this stuff. Chalk it in if you're not sure. And then on the top of the wave, remember it's sort of raggedy. It's not a straight line anymore. We kind of made it a straight line when we painted it in, but it's no longer a perfectly fine, hard edge. I think that would be the word I would want. It's all sort of bubbly up here. I'm taking my brush, and remember, don't clone. Don't make the same shape all the time. And here it is. I'm just sort of tapping this on here. It's coming down all with the transparent white. That's my first layer of white because I want it, you can see through it. Remember, water, if you hold up a glass of water, you can see through it. The only reason you're seeing the green behind it is because it is translucent, like that. All right, so I'm going to come up here like this and just tap on that. Again, this is my first layer, and it has to be more than that. Now, from here, I think I need to bring this down a little more, like this, where this might be curling down a little bit more. So again, into my mixing white, start patting it on here, tapping it. There we go. Don't want it even. Now from here, I'm going to say that there's just these little veins of water coming up behind my rocks, like this. And the reason I want white behind the rocks is so you can see them, see? See that? You want to be able to see the rocks, so you pretty much have to have some white behind them so you can see it in this old, wherever there's a light, there's a dark. Now this is sort of a light area, so I'm getting away with this a little bit. I'm going to bring this up here like this, and again, start putting in this foam using the side of my brush, a lot. Putting in these sort of holes that we're creating, these holes like that. These little veins of wave here. Come next to this. And you know, if you lost a hole, you can put it back, but already it's looking pretty good, don't you think? Just maybe make it a little bit wider back over here, again with the mixing white. Come back up here, because it's very translucent. And you get that wonderful wave action without having to do that much. See that? I mean, you get the feeling of it. Now, this is a dark rock right here. So, guess what? It has to be white next to it. Otherwise, you won't see my rock. You're starting to see it, because I've got some white next to it. So just leave that hole like that. And then on this side of the rock, there's white, like that. See, now you're seeing the rock. Maybe it's coming up on the rock a little bit here, too. It doesn't have to be flat now. The wave could be coming around the rock. And then, believe it or not, I've got water that's coming down this rock like this and coming around like that. So now you're starting to see the rock, true? Okay, and then I've got water coming this way. This is all coming this way like that. Then I've got some water coming around this edge of the rock. And down here between these two cracks. See that? Right like that. And where's it running? Maybe it ran here too. We don't know. Just let's bring it. You can change the shape of your rock just by where you said the water happened. Okay, so now now you're starting to see the rocks. You're not really seeing this rock here, so it has to be lighter right here. See that? Now this rock is showing up. See how this rock is showing up? Because we did that. This is what I'm talking about when you're talking about just take your time with this. You can always go back with the titanium. Alright, so right now we're still coming up into the wave with some of this. Mixing just the transparent white. Not trying to get too clever. Little veins, little holes. Kind of connect it all up there. Just going to bring it over here now. So that some of that came up here like this. Get some more white. I know it's whiter here. Remember we talked about that next to these rocks. So now I've got some white coming up here like this. And let's see, what are we going to do about some of this? I'm not trying to get it too complicated. You're going, really? It looks complicated to me. Well, no, we're not trying to do that. But we are saying that there is some white. Let's just put some white right there. Come back like that. Now we can really see where this is going. Now I'm going to go into the titanium because I know I really want it whiter. Now look at the difference. See that next to here? But I want to come out as far over. I want to leave some of that translucent white. I just wanted the titanium next to this rock here. Really, this was very important to have some titanium next to this rock. And the same thing with this one right over here. I want a little titanium next to this rock. Just barely touch it. And then what happened over here in this corner? Well, let's look at our picture. What happened over here in this corner? Well, we've got some white coming around here like this. So now I'm going to take some mixing white, start bringing some white this way. This is coming out this way, and I might at some point have to change brushes, but right now we're going to say that there's this. Here's our titanium. I'm going to say that I'm going to bring it next to this rock here. If I get it too bright, I can always come back and glaze over this. If I got this, if it's too white, the mixing white's translucent, but if I got this too white, I can come back and go over it. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the ultramarine blue and squirt some water on a plate. I can put a little tiny water on my brush. Now, I'm going to say that there is some ultramarine blue here and white coming down like this. And this is where you have to start figuring out where everything's going. This brush is a little small to do that with, but I wanted to make sure I at least laid that in there. And a little bit more. We've got some white coming down here for sure. This is the titanium. You really see that, and now this is going to come out into this area. Got to change brushes. I'll leave all this alone for a minute. Go up to a next size brush, and this is a number 6. Now it's time to start putting in some of this water down in here. This is what I'm talking about. Some of this water down here around these rocks. So let's get all this out of the way, and I'll put this up here like this so you can see what I'm doing. Now, I'm going to put this water all down into here. And probably, where's my white? Here's some white. I'm going to just add white to a different plate. I had that rock color on this plate with the burnt umber, purple, and ultramarine blue. And I think I'll grab some phthalo blue and put it on this plate too from one of the others. See, I've transferred that. Now, rinse that brush off because I used the brush to do that with. Wipe the brush off. Now, let's just start working on this ocean a little bit with some white here like this. Now we're going to start working on the ocean. Start putting these brush strokes in. See, like this. While it's wet. So I put a layer of blue on here. I'm going to pull that down here. And what do I know here? I know that I want a very light wave going up here like this, across this way. And then on this side over here, I want some light coming. So let's do this first because this is behind that. So let's just start putting this wave in. Put a little phthalo too. Start putting in this wave over our underpainting. See, like that. This is coming down like that. Let's put a little bit of brown in it. Kind of tone it down. Like that. There you go. So we're saying that went that way. Maybe even went more this way. Okay. And this came around like this. This is falling down like this. This is a big swell that's coming down this way. I've got phthalo blue and ultramarine blue on the brush at the same time. I'm bringing this down over in this direction. Let's put some white with here. It's right up here while it's wet. I'm going to say that there's some white coming. What I need to do then is wipe off my brush, and then holding it on its edge, just feather that out into this. I want it kind of light against this rock. This is one layer of blue. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of ultramarine blue and come back with that because that's a little dark. You can do that. You can just come back, kind of work some paint in here like that. Now, at this point, where's our purple? I think I had a little purple here somewhere, didn't I? Yeah, I'm going to add a little purple color to some of this and white. And I'm going to say that there is some purpley water coming this way. And it's going to be swirling. Let's put some more white with it. And a little ultramarine blue. I'm kind of mixing on the canvas here. And say that this is swirling around these rocks this way. Now, back to phthalo blue, ultramarine blue. Kind of, like I say, mixing on the canvas. Now, all this is going this way. The reason I'm using a bigger brush is so I can smooth some stuff out like that. I can smooth a little bit of stuff out like that. Hold this out like this. Just smooth it all. Alright, see where I'm going with this? Now, this is all here. See, that's all frosty, foamy stuff here. But there's some real light areas going through here, and there's some light going on top of this right here. See the light going there? There's a little bit of light going there. So maybe I'll take some transparent white. That's my favorite, line of defense. Let's put a little transparent white here on the plate. New little pile. And I want some little bit of transparent white. This is probably set a little bit down here. Just going to come next to here. Just put it on the brush like that. Just come next to here and pull down and lift up. Pull down and lift up. Just maybe a little bit more here like that. Still wet, barely touching it. Got some streaks. Alright, and then for the same thing with here, right on the top of this, need to pull it down. Some transparent white. Come this way. This way. Lift up. Lift up. Barely touching it. Lift up. Where you go over it, the white disappears though. Know that. So now what's happening under here? Let's take a little transparent white here. And lighten all this area up around this rock. Now, this is where you might need to dry it. If you find yourself doing something and you're not making the change you want, dry the paint. That's the best thing I can tell you, is just dry it. I'm going to just dry this whole mess here. Alright, now it's dried. Now I'm going to grab some mixing white, tap a bit off on my paper, come this way. Do you see? Let me bring this down a little bit so you can see what we're painting. Do you see where, let's move this plate out of the way. You see where there's this kind of zigzag back and forth here? Can put that on here. Now look at the difference. I tried to do it before and it wasn't having any of it. And this is the transparent white first. I say right next to the rock. I say that this is coming around like this, kind of maybe even floating back up into this wave here. Still transparent white. And then this little trough in here, I'm going to get quite a bit of this in here actually. And because the more you go over it, kind of disappears. And we're going to say that all this is kind of light down in here. Even if I'm going over it with some foam later. I'm going to say that this is happening in here, and this is a trough of water. And then here on top of this swell right here, pure mixing white. Now I'll go back with titanium, sure. When I want to do the mixing white, always do that first. See how it goes. Might work just fine, and then you just leave it alone. See, I want this a little lighter here, like that. And what I want to have happen right in here, because I want to pull something up in here for this, like that, and just sort of scrub my brush along here, got paint on it, whatever, kind of lighten it up in here. And then right in here, let's change brushes. Let's take a smaller brush, Wipe it off. This is a number 2 mixing white. Now I can be a little more precise on my lines and where I want the wave to be. So I can come on up here like this on this wave. And if I don't go over it too many times, if I just lay down the white and quit, it will stay. The more you go over it, it will disappear, particularly with mixing white, translucent white. It kind of disappears on you. And I've got a little, I want to make a little kind of blue-purple color with the titanium and the blue and the purple. Come in here like this next to my rock and say that there might be a little of that color here on the top of the wave and maybe in here like this. I've put purple in this picture, so I've got to put some back up in here now, maybe coming down on my wave over here. And I've got a little purple. See, where else can I put it? Got a little bit of sort of a purple shadow. I'm using the purple almost to make it look like the water's in shadow. Say that there's a little bit of that coming around here. And maybe there's some water coming down off of here, this rock right there. Look at that. Say that there's coming off of that rock right there. Then all I have to do is go back with a little tiny mixing white, transparent white, and wipe it off. Just kind of highlight one little edge of it and see what happens. And just pull it this way. Once you're doing that, let's do some titanium. That wasn't very satisfactory. Barely touching it, just using the corner of my brush. Like that. I'm going to say that there's some white going in here. Now here's where you see where the titanium, you can see the difference between the mixing white and the titanium, because you get a much lighter area when you do that. So I'm back into the titanium now. And I'm just going to come up here like this and do some little light highlights up in here like this. We're saying that this water is rolling off the top. Now, where else could I put it? Well, you know, like over in here I've got something happening around these rocks because there's a little purple on my brush. Again, this is a word. I do a lot of the mixing. I remember what color I have on my brush, and then I do a lot of the mixing on the canvas. I'm using the side of the brush. So even though I've got titanium on it, it's not as bright. I'm just saying that there's some waves coming down here. And this is a matter of people say, I just don't get the brush strokes. You have to practice. You have to really understand what your brush is going to do and have kind of an idea of where you want your light to be. Now, this, I don't want anything that light in this front of the picture. So that's all right. I'll put this here. And then I'll maybe take a little of the purple color. And I'll just go over it a little bit. I'll just sort of erase some of that white. Just mix on the canvas. Or I could dry it and glaze over it. We'll say that there's some white right in here. Oh gosh, there is white coming around this rock really here. See it up here in this picture? There's some white coming around it. Take a little tiny bit here. Like that. And then maybe a little bit like that right there. So I'm going to say that there's some white coming around this rock. And it is going back up this way. So, alright, so now I'm going to move this picture so I can get sort of the whole feel of what I've painted. Now, you're sort of getting the sense of what we've got going here. Okay, so what else has to happen? Well, obviously something has to happen in here. You need maybe some transparent white coming down here on top of this. Remember, I've got a little purple on my brush. I didn't rinse it, so it's not pure white. It's coming down that way. Maybe I want something coming up like this, barely touching this up in here. Something here, maybe. Let's break this up a little bit. Just put something a little bit lighter right there. But I love all this. So I just, sometimes you get it where you like it. It doesn't matter what I did. If you have it where you like it, stop. You know, if it looks good to you, quit. You can overdo stuff. I promise you. You can kill it by putting too many of these little white things in. You can just kill the picture. So let's take a little titanium now, right on the edge tip of my brush. Wipe the excess off. And just right there. I'm going to put it a little bit whiter and then spread it out. Back up toward the wave. Like that. Spread it out toward the wave. And oh, I don't know. I think we want, let's see, we said we had some water coming in here like this, coming around like this. I've got a little bit of white on just on the edge, and I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just saying right there some white. And it's coming this way, and then maybe this wave's coming like this. Then what happened here? Something happened here. Oh yeah, we said that happened there. And then if the wave water's coming down here, then maybe we need a little bit whiter right here. This is kind of how you figure it out, because the water came here, then what did it do? Well, it did something, obviously, because it came down it kind of floated down that way. So we're going to say it's floating back up this way. Maybe it's kind of splashing up against this rock a little bit. And that's possible. And this is how you can kind of bury your rocks a little bit. Maybe it's even here, maybe it's splashing around up on the rock a little bit. See, it's splashing up on the rock. And now I'm into the titanium. And I want to say that there's a little tiny trickle of water that's coming down here like this. Remember, waterfalls, pour some water out of a glass sometimes, see what happens to it. It's level. So make sure that if you've got some of this stuff, it eventually falls down straight. It kind of has to fall down straight. You could say that this water happened here and maybe hit a puddle, but at this point it does have to sort of fall down straight. And then maybe here you're going to say that there was some water back here, but again it's falling down. This is where the wave kind of maybe crashed at some point over this rock. We don't know where. And then maybe something came down like this too. It could. Just something came this way and came straight down like that. And this is a little bright here for me, so I'm going to take a little ultramarine blue and tone that back. A little ultramarine blue, umber, and white. And I want to tone this little turquoisey blue area back, because I don't like it. Let's just push that out there. So now, behind this rock, right, it's white, remember? Behind this rock, it's got to be white. And now I'm going to just start. This is a hard edge behind the rock, but now I'm making little circly things. And I'm going to start using this tiny brush and making these little circular motions and lifting up. And I'm going to say that that's behind this rock and all the way behind that one. Now, you can start to see the rocks, can't you? You start to see the whole picture. Let me zoom back out, all the way back out. You can start to see, just take this paper and stick it out of the way. You can start to see the whole painting. Take the plate off. You can start to see the entire painting. Move it all down so you can see it. You start to see it. The whole entire painting. And now you're getting the idea of what it kind of takes to do something like this. All right, so what do we want to do here? Well, we want to create this big wave action. Now what I'm going to do is just dry everything because I like what I've got. Okay, I'm going to dry everything. Now, here we go. See, here's the smaller version of this, and you can kind of see it. Actually, I think we've got a much more interesting version. I like the gradation in our sky. We made this bigger. We were able to put in some more details. So, and you can see that we've actually, sometimes it's easier to paint something big. I promise you it is. So, I'm just going to get this out of the way just so I can see it. Now, I'm going to go into titanium white. start tapping this on my wave like this, just right over the edge of this, like that. I want to bring this up like this, and then I'm going to just make some little funny little motions like that and lift up. Funny little motions like this and lift up. Maybe I'll even go clear over the top of the horizon line. I just might even extend it like this. There you go, lifting up. I want to make sure I'm over the top of the horizon line with this. I want it to be a pretty spectacular wave here. Okay, so, alright, so I've done that, still in titanium. I'm going to start making this circular motion, because all this has got to be wave here. See that? All this has got to be wave. Kind of these little circles and lift up. More paint. All this has got to be wave back in here. So I'm going to tap this on here like this. Kind of getting closer to my rock here. It's really white next to my rock. I got to tell you that. We're just going to do another layer here. If I get it too white, you know what? I can glaze it back. So I'm not so worried about that. I'm still in this small brush, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But I'm going to say that this is this part of the wave coming up like this. Now this particular wave action is actually easier done with a bigger brush, but I want to take the titanium and make sure that I have it right next to the rock. I've got what I call a hard edge, like that. See, next to this rock, like that. And then I'm going to start bringing it around with the smaller brush into this part where the wave's coming down and making these little sort of loopy actions, almost like little U's. Look, the letter U. Just make leaves the same way, believe it or not. A lot of my brush strokes sort of go into all kinds of things. Now all this has to come up into here, remember? But I want to use this brush for this. So I'm going to, as long as I'm in this little brush, I'm going to just keep coming down the wave here with the white paint, tapping over the edge of it like that, just increasing this sort of wonderful edge of this wave like this, kind of actually making it bigger. I'm going to come down here like this. I want it whiter on the top, and maybe I'll just have some wind whips coming up like that. I want this whiter over here for sure. And that's why I wasn't so worried about what we did with this wave here, because I knew that we were going to come up here with this one and bring all of this lighter up in here. Okay, all of this was going to be lighter up in here like this. And now let's go back and work on this section up here. I want to bring it up like this. Now something you can do is you can take your finger like this too. Show you that real quick, is you can put a little white paint on your finger and do that too. That's a kind of a neat trick. Now over here, see, because it's all light behind this rock, remember we said all that was really light. I want to change brushes and wipe the brush off, rinse it off. Wipe it off on a towel, go into my translucent white, I've got a pretty good glob here. I'm going to go into my translucent white, use the side of the brush, and start making some wave action splashing up. This is the translucent, like this. Alright, I said this is really splashing up here. See that? I'm going to say it over here too, just behind this wave. Over here, this is really crashing down. Thus, the water running down this rock. Okay? This is the transparent white. Tap it on here like this. Like this. Tap it on, and then kind of a zigzag motion and lift up. Sort of zigzag back and forth, back and forth and lift, back and forth and lift. Practice that. Ooh, pretty. Alright, back and forth and lift up. Now, where's my titanium? I want a little bit of titanium in here with this. Now I'm going to take the titanium and just tap it in here like that, like it's splashy. See that? Now, not doing the lifting up stuff with the titanium. I'm just making these little foamy bits on top of that other stuff. How much could I zoom in? Can you see it? Well, it's hard. You know, the problem is there's a lot of subtleness in here that the camera's not showing you. But just sort of tapping in the, maybe here too. Let's just tap in. Take some titanium right here on the edge here. Tap in some bubbly stuff here. Like that. So that it's, come on, you guys, you don't want this all, you don't want to start cloning this edge. You want it raggedy. When you do your clouds, see that? You want it raggedy. And maybe it's coming down like this, where it fell down over the wave. Where's that other plate I had? I remember this. Remember? There's another plate. Now, if for some weird chance you got it to, you just did overkill on this. So make that blue again, which was your Australian sienna, white and phthalo blue. And if you need to, only if you need to now, if you need to, tap some of that up in here like this so it shows like it's coming through. Tap a little bit in there like that while it's still wet. So if you got a little carried away, you can do that too. And that's pretty. You see how that made this a little bit more uneven? Like that. And I can even then darken it a little bit. Oh, now we're getting tricky. I hate to do this to you, but we're going to get tricky. Now I'm going to take this and darken a little bit like this. Make a little darker color. I certainly won't use this brush for that. Come back with the teeny brush. Teeny brush. I'm going to come back with the teeny brush like this. Wipe it off on a paper towel. Come back with a teeny brush. Now I'm going to come under here like this. And ooh, let's make this even darker. Add a little more blue to it. Kind of give this a dark edge under here, which I can do. Barely touch it. I can come back here in a couple of places with the dark edge. Then, don't do that. That doesn't work. Let me just wipe the brush off. Just going to come back here with a little dark edge. Sometimes there is a dark edge under this. You can darken an edge somewhere. Like that. You can give it a little bit of a dark edge. Or you can take a little purple and white. A little purple and white and make a little shadow. This is another little trick. A little purple and white. Some of that blue color. You can come up here and you can give it a little bit of a shadow on some of this wave. And that's what happens over here. You can give it a little bit of a shadow in here. Maybe like this. Just give it a little bit of a shadow so that it's not all the same color. I'm going to do that in this one too. Put a little shadow. Over here, there's a pretty big light spot right here. Just break this up a little bit. Okay. Now, where's my mixing white? There you go. Put a little mixing white with it. So it doesn't all have to be white, but there we go. So that's this wave. Now what about the toothbrush? Yeah, let's do the toothbrush. Let's back this out. See? Not shabby. Still want to have a little bit of little white. Gonna put some own little kind of foam spots here, like that, up into the, this is transparent white, but still it's working. See that where I'm saying that this is sort of splashing? Then I can take the toothbrush and do a little more if I want. Like that. So this is coming along. But before I do that, we were in the purple. I don't want to get schizophrenic on you. We're in the purple. Let's take a little purple here. A little bit of very light purple. And maybe a little tiny bit more purple. And put a little shadow here on the trough. Up in front here. I want to put a little bit of purple shadow. Where else? Oh, let's do a little darker purple and blue. A little darker purple. Blue, phthalo blue and purple and white. So where's the purple? Dazzling purple. Such a great color. A little tiny bit of raw umber for unity color. There we go. A little more purple. That's it. There's my purple, kind of a gray purple color. And I'm looking at this saying, do I want any kind of a darker, maybe a little bit darker something here? I'll put a little white with this, see what happens. Yeah, I just want to gray this out, but I wanted to add some sort of light area right here that wasn't too white. You can do that by graying it out. Alright, that's going to be a good color for our mist too, so we'll leave that alone. Remember this brush that we used for this? Let's grab that brush as long as we're happily doing stuff. And let's grab that. Oh, this is you don't want to use your best brushes for this. If you've got one with a really good edge to it, don't use it. Use one that's sort of you've worn out. You want to use your brushes that have worn out when you start scrubbing with them. Like, for instance, this brush here, it's kind of worn out. See, it's all, you can't get it to a point anymore. So that's a good one. So take some transparent white, a little bit of that gray color we did. Come down here at the bottom and do some foamy stuff, just like what we did on the wave, except we're doing it at the very bottom. Maybe I'll put a little bit of titanium with it so that I can see the top of this being a little lighter. So go into the titanium, tap it on here like this, and say that this is some foam that's coming up from the bottom of the picture, like this edge. And then it kind of, what happens to it? It comes around here like this, and let me get a little bit more. And then remember on this rock here, on this side of the rock, right over here, we're going to say that there is some, make sure I have enough purple. Where'd that purple go that we made? Here. Make sure I have a little purple blue color with it. I'm going to say that this is, well, where's my purple? I could have sworn I just had some here. Let me squirt this real quick. Sometimes it just goes away. So here we go. We're going to just put a little drop of purple on my brush now, because I want this to come up here like this, over this rock. Just like this. And I don't know what happened there. Let's take a rag and wipe that off. This is why we dry things. So we're going to say that this is the purple right there. It's coming up over this rock. And let's put a little bit of mixing white on the brush, and look what I did. I just kind of got a little glob of it. And I'm going to just sort of stab this like this. See, I'm sort of stabbing it, making it look like this is foam coming up here. Maybe a little titanium, do the same thing right there. Just up and down, stabbing it. And this brush is so frayed that it kind of makes this little splashing business, even though I didn't intend it. In fact, I kind of like that. I'm going to take this brush with some titanium, come up here and do the same thing, because I really like the texture it's making. Don't throw out your old brushes. They can be good for something. Be amazed at how clever they can be for you sometimes. Okay, so I'm saying that that came along here like this, and that this was all on the bottom here with some sort of kind of foamy stuff that's coming up, some splash, a little bit of purple. Where did that? I keep thinking I've mixed somewhere purple, and I don't see it. So let me grab. Here's some purple. Here's some white. Here's some phthalo blue. Here's some more white. Just going to make the color. So I'm starting to get annoyed now. All right, a little bit of brown. All right, there we go. Something like that. Now, if I went ahead and didn't use a palette knife, now I got to wipe all the paint off. I'm going to come up here like this and just kind of smooth this out here. So we're going to say that this water's running around these rocks like this and off the edge of the canvas. Then I'll come back with some white and tap in. Brush is still dirty. You see me rinse it very seldom. So that there's some splashing coming up here, maybe from another rock, we don't know. Came up here, came around this rock. Now what I didn't do was put the water running off of this rock, so we'll change brushes. See, these pictures take time. Here we are. We're into another hour. We're almost done, but we're into another hour, and this is what I'm talking about. You don't do these slowly. I'm going to bring this down like this and say that there's some water maybe that ran on this rock too. There's a lot of splashing going on in this picture. Crashing and splashing. Let's say some water ran down here. Oh, I've got it coming around this rock here. So let's just... Too much water on the brush. Let me wipe that off. If you get too much water on the brush, this is not effective. So over there, we're going to say that this came around down like this, so that there's some water. We don't see it where it goes between the rocks, but it sort of stopped there. And let's say something happened here. Oh yeah, I was going to do the toothbrush trick. Want to go ahead and take some ultramarine blue and burnt umber. I want to go ahead and put this rock back. I lost this rock, and I'm going to just put it back right here. Put it back, and I want to have it up a little higher. This is what you can do with acrylics. You can come back, and you can, the top of this rock needed to come back a little bit. It's a darker rock, and that's okay, but it definitely needed to come back. And you can do that. If you've lost a rock, don't sweat the small stuff. Just put it back. Put a little more blue with it. There you go. So I want this dark rock like that because I want the light next to it. And then if I have to, I would take a moment and dry this. There we go. See, we got some splash coming up on this rock. We've got this coming up over here. It's nice and light behind this rock. We've got the nice swell of the ocean. I'm going to rinse this little brown off that brush, wipe it off on my rag, go back into my, well, I don't have any more mixing white out, so I'm going to put some out. This is just, you don't need much, but I'm going to put it out anyway because I want to be able to do these final things. I want to take the final things on my water. Now, maybe coming in here next to this one, pull some up in here. Let's just pull some little white foamy things coming up here. Little tendrils are coming up. There we go, like that. Let's bring it up on the wave. Maybe I'll just put a little dot here and there. Don't have to do much, and that's why we're using the drag a little bit of white up here like that. And can attach that to this. So there we go. So that's our edge, and it looks like they're drilling next door. So it's a good time we stopped our video. But before we stop, and I apologize for the drilling, but let's just do a little toothbrush trick. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. Take your toothbrush, a clean plate, squirt some water on your plate like that. Take some white paint, which would be, I think I put the white out so I'd find it easily. Put the white out so I'd find it easily. Where did I put it? Huh. No, not finding it easily. All right, I'm going to grab, didn't I put titanium white out somewhere? Somewhere. Well, yes, I know I did, so where did it go? You know, I always tell people, if you're going to do, white paint, put it in front or something. Don't put it back in the pile. So here we go. Put some white paint out. Now, wet the toothbrush. Then wipe it off on a rag like this. Take this and swish it around like this and that. And then what I want you to do is test it on something. So, do something like this and test it. Hold your thumb and give it a good squirt. And see, is it spraying? Yeah, it's spraying. Alright, I might put a little more white out. Could be spraying better. This is a great trick for sand, too. So now I'm just going to mist this a little bit. Mist, mist, mist. Then take a little of this white and tap the excess off on the rag. Try a spray again. There we go. It's spraying. See that? It's spraying. So now, what you want to do here is take some clean rags. They don't have to, just at least dry, so you don't want any wet paint on them. Clean is a relative statement here. Kind of mask off what you don't want to spray, and you want it very uneven. This is why we're doing this. You want it very uneven. Now I'm just going to come up here like this. I think I'll put a little more water on my brush, tap it off on the towel. And sometimes it helps to stand up and do this. Then I'll stand up and I can really use my middle finger here. If I want a big splash on something, I'll stand up and maybe I'll get a little more white paint. Aim it right kind of on top of my wave. Just take a little more white paint like that. There we go, like that. And say, I want this really, really big wave here. There you go, like that. And see how it's coming up into the sky? Now, when you do something like this, you've got to, could you do a little bit, say, along here? Yeah, a little bit, but don't get carried away. You could do a little bit here, just with your thumb. Don't get too carried away with this. Do a little bit on this edge. Don't move it too fast. Stay at one place, give it 3 or 4 spins with the toothbrush before you move it. Then you're going to need to dry it. Alright, see that? We've dried it. Now I'm going to put the toothbrush in water. Move my white plate. Now I'm going to look at this picture. See, is there anything else that I want to do to it? You can overdo something. And I really kind of like what we've got here. I think that, one thing about the Australian sienna and white, if we just maybe took a little of that somewhere. Let me just throw this plate somewhere else. See, I had that on. Had a little Australian sienna here. And I might take a clean brush. Or let's do a little tiny one. Like this. And a little bit of white and Australian sienna. Like that. And did I want to just add a little touch of gold or just lighten up maybe a place on the rock? I could do that if I wanted to. I could come back and then highlight something if I wanted. So maybe right up here. Maybe I want this a little lighter. So this is where you might consider playing with your rocks a little bit. You can always, honestly, you could spend another week on this if you wanted to. But the general idea of how you're doing the ocean and the waves, is pretty much, I would say we pretty much covered that. And as we do this series, you're going to see more and more ways to paint this. And I think we're going to stop while the drilling is, I think we're going to stop now. We've got drilling going. And I appreciate you guys very much for playing with me. And it's been an hour and 15 minutes on this one. So thanks very much. Check me out on Ginger Cook Live on YouTube. Check us out on gingercooklive.com for our weekly art lessons, which are fantastic. And I hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you.